Welcome back. I'd like to continue with our exploration of the theme, how to connect with HaKadosh Baruch Hu in day-to-day life. In order to do that, let's take a minute to examine what we do in what we call day-to-day life. As Jews, we have those things we're obligated to do, called mitzvahs. We have actions which we're forbidden to do, called averas. What about all the other stuff? What is it? What is it called? How is it defined? Is it connected or disconnected? Chazal opened this up for us with a unique title for those actions. They're called Divrei Reshus. My Rosh Yeshiva, Baron Shechter Shlita, pointed out that many people mistranslate this term. Reshus is not permission in this case, because translating the actions we do day to day, which are not a mitzvah and not an avera, as Divrei Reshus, implies that the Torah gives us permission to do those, or perhaps phrased in a more negative way, the Torah couldn't care less if we do them or not. That leaves our life a spiritual vacuum in many ways, and it's simply not true. The Chovos HaLevavos points out that all actions that we do eventually end up being defined as positive or negative in terms of Ruchnis, in terms of Judaism. Rav Hutner used to phrase this, I heard this from a student, he would say, there is no Switzerland in Judaism. There's no neutrality. There's no parav. Something is either going to be positive or negative. Well then, does that mean that everything's a mitzvah and an avera? Why do we call things a dvar reshus? The proper translation of reshus in this context is kind of like what we find in Hilchos Shabbos. Reshus means domain, something under your control. Reshus hayochid, private domain. Reshus harabim, public domain. Reshus is related to the Hebrew word reshet, which means a net, which controls that which is in it, whether fish or hair or whatever you're putting inside the net. Therefore, we find also in modern Hebrew, authorities working for the government, Reshuta Atikot, the Antiquities Authority, Reshuta Shidur, the Broadcast Authority. That implies the idea of things that you have control over. A Dvar Reshus are those aspects in your life which are not instantly a Kiddush Hashem, as a mitzvah is, not instantly a Chilul Hashem, as an Avera is, but something which you will control and determine how it comes out. This depends on your intention, and it depends on the way you do that action. So let's take an example. The Torah does not tell us a mitzvah of thou shalt play tennis. The Torah also does not tell us a mitzvah, thou shalt not play tennis. Playing tennis is a dvar reshus. Now, a person can play tennis in a way which is totally connected to Ratzon Hashem. You can be playing tennis because your doctor told you that you're not healthy. Your body cannot do the things you need to do in life unless you get more exercise. You can play tennis because you're under a lot of stress, and your psychologist told you it would be very helpful for your psyche if you can relieve the stress by some good, vigorous exercise. It could be that your wife told you that it bothers her, that you've been gaining weight, and you can burn some of that off with tennis. All those things can be positive motivations, making tennis part of your avodas Hashem in the way you put it forward after you have the proper kavanah in the beginning. Viewing life in this way gives us a unity in our life. The Mesilas Yesharim talks about having a focus. Lama yasim mabato magamato b'chol asher oseh kol yemei chayav. A person should have a unifying principle that's at his focus in everything he does all of his life. The Kotzker Rebbe said what he wants from his Hasidim is to be able to ask him at any time, why are you doing what you're doing? And they would have a good Torah reason for it. Now, even though that's a very high bar, in many ways, if we do take a little bit of time to think about it, we can have good Torah reasons for the things we do, because in reality we already do, just we're not conscious and paying attention to them. I love the story about the famous Yerushalmi Maggid Reb Shalom Shvadron. He lived in the Shari Chesed neighborhood in Yerushalayim, and he was once taking some of his children to his mother's house in the Beis Yisrael neighborhood. On the way, he met a famous Musar personality, Rabbi Isaac Sher. Rabbi Isaac Sher was the son-in-law of the Alter of Slobodka. He asked Reb Shalom, what are you doing? He said, I'm taking these children to my mother's house because my other children are sick. Again, Rabbi Isaac asked, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? He thought Rabbi Isaac couldn't hear, so he yelled in his ear, some of my children are sick. I'm taking these to my mother's house. Again, Rabbi Isaac said, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? Reb Shalom was baffled. He thought Rabbi Isaac didn't understand the biology. He said, I have 6 children at home. Germs. I'm taking the healthy children to my mother's house to stay healthy. 6 children at my house, healthy children at my mother's house. Once again, Rabbi Isaac said, Reb Shalom, what are you doing? Reb Shalom surrendered. Rabbi Isaac said, look at what I'm asking you and look at what you answer me. I'm asking you what you're doing. You're telling me your children are in danger and you're protecting them. Everyone does that. A dog protects their puppies. A cat protects their kittens. Who are those children you have there with you? That's the next generation of Torah and mitzvahs in the world. That's the next link in the chain that began with Avram Avinu and continues on to the end of time. That is the next generation that will have to bring HaKadosh Baruch Hu's plans to fruitions in the world. And you're telling me that they're in danger and you're protecting them? Do you realize how significant that is? If you recognize the significance of those actions you would be doing anyway, he said, they would be so much more meaningful and so much more powerful. Similarly, I found in a sefer a story of a student who came to Rabbi Isaac and said, Rebbe, I get a mazel tov. He said, why? He says, I became a chassan last night. I'm engaged. Rabbi Isaac said, why? The boy was baffled. He said, everyone gets engaged. Rabbi Isaac said, bad answer. A Jew who gets engaged is supposed to be thinking, why am I doing this? Why am I connecting my life to the life of this woman now? What does it mean to build a bayis nemon b'Yisrael? It shouldn't be something instinctual. But if we think about what we're doing, then it means so much more, and it's so entirely different. There's a van driver in Yerushalayim who takes children to school, and he told me that he heard, I don't remember if he heard it directly from Rav Ben Zion Abba Shaul Zatzal, or if he just heard it in his name. He said he was told his kavanah, when he slides open the door of his van, he should feel that he's opening an Aron Kodesh. When he takes a child out to go to school, he should feel that he's taking out a Sefer Torah. Because that's what he's really doing, even though that's his day-to-day job that he does to earn his living. Just because we're doing something to earn a living doesn't mean that it's separated from our connection to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Reb Meir Premishlan said something that at first sounded cynical. He said, if you scratch beneath the surface of Jews davening on Rosh Hashanah, and they're davening for all sorts of great universal things, if you scratch beneath the surface, you can often find they're asking for money. But if you scratch beneath the money, you find that they're asking for Torah. Because really, why is it I, you, and all of us are trying to work hard to earn our livings? Because we want to take care of a Jewish family, and it takes a lot of money to do that. We want to help build our communities and support our communities. We want to support the yeshiva or seminary that we learned in. And that working that we do day to day, if we remember why we're doing it and connect it to it, makes it so much more meaningful. One important point that I want to finish with that really unifies what we've been learning till now. If a person is sincere and really recognizes that the things I'm doing in life, whether it's on my vacation or when I'm exercising or when I'm doing my hobbies or when I'm in work, when I'm with my family, all of those things are part of my avodas Hashem and I'm doing them for Torah purposes, suddenly you realize that if you're a person of integrity, you must do those things al pi halacha. If we take our example of the person who decides to play tennis, he's doing it with all the right intentions. But if there's a halachic problem with the tennis club in which he's going to play, he has to realize, wait a second, how can I play my tennis there? I'm saying that I'm playing my tennis because that's what HaKadosh Baruch Hu wants me to do. And I'm doing this for his purposes. I can't do it in a way that goes against his purposes. That guides us in a way which is very gentle, but very strong, into bringing our lives in line with halacha. And then our lives are connected to HaKadosh Baruch Hu throughout in everything we do. Wishing you success in this very big endeavor that we're all working on together.